Today, we're going to talk about trends. Maybe you can share a little bit of your process before you break down what you're thinking about for the year ahead.
The way to get more accurate predictions is through triangulation. And that means that you're hitting multiple sources of information and seeing which things are coming up the most often. First of all, I'm a voracious reader. I am every day reading what's going on in the world of business. The second thing I do is we have a force of a team, people that are CEO whisperers. I ask everyone on my team, what is it that you're hearing is bubbling up the most often? I'm also doing keynotes, every week or two. So it's really triangulating between the people I'm talking to, mostly leaders, the media I'm reading, the challenges that are coming up in the businesses that we're consulting with, and then just my casual conversations with other experts that I have become friends with. And so I'm just seeing what bubbles up the most and hoping that it sticks.
I know you have lots of good stuff to talk about and share. What's trend number one that we should be thinking about this year?
Well, the most obvious is the executive administration shift that happened. It's not necessarily that Trump winning is going to be good for business or bad for business, because both Biden and Trump argue that they are pro-business. They just have different approaches to how they encourage business to thrive. What I do know is that CEOs now have a lot less uncertainty about what 2025 and 2026 are going to bring. You already see large organizations worrying about H-1B visas and immigration and getting our ducks in a row. And so what does that mean for unions? What does that mean for the workforce? What does it mean for minimum wage, for example? I think what you're already seeing is people putting the pedal to the metal because they know what strategy to approach. We cannot talk about 2025 without talking about AI. And AI is in some ways old news. Now, the thing I've been seeing that is concerning to me, AI-powered empathy. Let me paint a picture for what this looks like and why I'm so terrified about it. An AI vendor sells you a tool, and that tool starts with a psychology test. So now you've got everyone in the company has taken some kind of psychological assessment, and it understands what makes you tick versus me tick. And then it's integrated into our communication tools. So Slack, email, etc. I'm now sending you an email, Alexandria, you're my colleague, and I'm saying, hey, we really need to work on this project, whatever, shoot off the email. But the AI bot that's now integrated into the Outlook tool that we're using says, suggestion, Alexandria, her strengths and personality profile are XYZ. Perhaps instead of just saying we need to work on this, you should start with how are you? How was your weekend? Because she's really a relationship builder and she will receive that email better if you add those comments. Now you get the email and you think, I'm awesome because I spoke your language. I communicated with you exactly how you like to be communicated with. And you respond, great, my weekend was blah, 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 and yada, yada. And then you shoot me a reply, but the AI bot says, well, wait a minute, actually, Jessica's much more to the point. She doesn't like long emails. She's more interested in bullets. So why don't you simplify this email and reduce this talk about the weekend and just send it this way? And then you shoot it off. And then I get the email and I'm like, wow, Alexandria talks exactly like I like to be spoken to. And we haven't actually communicated. You don't actually know anything about me. And the way that those tools are being sold is that it will reduce interpersonal friction, reduce silos, increase communication harmony, right? And I guess that's true, but when the empathy and the communication and the human connection is being super turbocharged by AI, is it real? We've already started to see this push. What we've also seen, interestingly, is a complete operational failure at actually getting people back into the office 5 days a week because there's not enough desks, not enough parking, not enough elevators to get people to the floor. And so there's been much pushback from employees and much pushback logistically from being able to handle the volume of people getting into the office 5 days a week. I believe that this is a short-term trend that will rise and fall. The benefits of working with flexibility to your ability to deliver results, to your productivity, to your ability to recruit and hire, attract, and retain talent from broad geographies, that's just a no-brainer for business. And, what wins for business wins ultimately, and flexibility wins for business impact. Forcing people into the office doesn't. The mandates are that's just going to create friction.
I'm thinking about trust, a concern. It's trust in your leadership, in your organization, or who you're really talking to, or how much people are using AI. Just what are your thoughts?
It's absolutely a growing concern, and I would argue that is the perfect tee up for another trend, which is the culture rebellion. If you look at social media talking about workplace culture, it's mocking the idea of workplace culture, right? We've got the most powerful people in the world saying corporate culture is a joke. You've got frontline employees sharing on social media, corporate culture is a joke. Corporate culture is almost irritating and there's a resistance to it, which is so funny as a corporate culture expert, because to me, the way I define culture is it's the way that people think and act to get results, right? If you're thinking of culture as pizza parties, I agree, it's totally annoying. If you're thinking of culture the way Mark Zuckerberg seems to be, which is DEI initiatives, that's also not culture, because that's a program, right? Culture is how do people show up? How do they think and act at work to get you the results that you need? And the trust that is disintegrated is showing up everywhere in pop culture right now, in media, in conversations we're having. I mean, you're seeing the beginnings of a revolution, increased unionization efforts. You're seeing increased anti-work movement, increased distaste for the wealthy class. How exactly can an L&D professional create a sense of trust when there's already this idea that the leaders are lying to us? The most powerful experience I have at work every day is the interactions I have with you one-on-one. You know, that is going to determine whether I subscribe to this culture rebellion or not.
When you're talking about those sacred one-to-one interactions that can help foster trust, what happens if you're losing managers? Tell us more about that.
Middle managers are not one thing. And so for some, it can be devastating, but for others, it will be a relief. People suck at power, okay? When people get some of that power, they have no idea how to wield it. And it goes to their head, and then they use it to push people down, right? That's where L&D can really help. It's helping people realize what their blind spots are and how they can show up to be more giving. But it's also really hard for middle managers because the incentive structures of most corporations incentivizes information hoarding. So a lot of middle managers are terrible. And the extinction of that layer will be a relief to some, and others, it will be devastating. First of all, L&D professionals need to be focused on business outcomes first and foremost. There has to be a moment in which you don't stay only focused on results, but rather you're focused on the learnings and the feedback loop that will create the right effort to get those results. I would love to see L&D professionals get in the business of facilitating those conversations a lot more, rather than just like what's in our LMS and what training are we providing this quarter, which is, you know, at some of the big companies, what it's been delegated to.
Well, any other thoughts on trends before we wrap it up for this conversation?
I would just say always leave a little bit of room in your brain for the completely unexpected. Who knows what's to happen? And so as an L&D team, if you have the ability to facilitate a scenario planning conversation looking super far out, I would encourage that too, because it expands the thinking of your leaders.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessica.
Thanks for having me. It was such a great conversation.